This is the What the Ruck Rugby podcast with Angus Opperman.
Well, it's that time of the year again, guys. North versus South. Forget about the Sharks against the Lions. Forget about the Bulls against the Sharks. Forget about the Lions against the Stormers. This is the rivalry you want to watch. It's the one where you would spend your last earned cents to buy a ticket and go to the stadium. It's the match that people would stream illegally. It's the match that gets everyone talking. At this point in time with this video, there's 45,000 tickets sold out of a 55,000 seater stadium. I think that is a lot in itself. It's going to be a big one in Cape Town. And this is the kind of match where lock position, team form, injuries, they don't count for much. They really don't. I can recall many matches where the one team was the total underdog and they ended up winning. And that's what makes it so special. I think from provincial level, this is probably the closest you will get to Springboks All Blacks. I might be wrong. You get Leinster and Munster, but this one, like the URC would say, it is different. But let's go back to where this rivalry started. And that was in the Currie Cup, when the Bulls, 8 years after their formation, when they broke away from Northern Transvaal, won their first ever Currie Cup against Western Province by 11 points to 9 at Loftus Versfeld. And the Bulls went on to win quite a few against Western Province after that. And that's where this rivalry actually stemmed from. So there's always this argument of, well, and I bring it up myself. I'll be like, okay, we won more Currie Cups, but then there's a fair counterpoint where they would say, well, we've been only in existence for over 80 years. You guys have a much longer history and have less than 10 more Currie Cups than us. So great argument. But this is where it all started. And it transgressed into Super Rugby in 1996. The first ever match was, they played under Northern Transvaal and Western Province, which the Bulls won, or Northern Transvaal won by 35 points to 7. And that's when the rivalry just grew bigger, because you had the Currie Cup and you had Super Rugby. And 98, Western Province, or as they were known that year, Western Stormers, they beat the Bulls and went on, I think, let me just double check here, they had 6 wins and a 19-all draw. And that was in the 2000s. And that's when Western Province dominated the Bulls until one day at Loftus in 2005, the Bulls made sure they get their first win against the Stormers under the new name. And that was 75 points to 14, a thrashing of note, like you wouldn't believe. And as the years went by, there were a lot of wins, a lot of losses. The Bulls went on a good run after that. They had 5 wins. Only the one loss was the last game they played against the Stormers before the final, the Super Rugby final, which they won. And since then, it's been a bit up and down. There were, I think, about 19 played. Stormers won 13. The Bulls won the rest. And then obviously, through the years, there were some other matches, preseason games. You had the SA Preparation Series and the Rainbow Cup, where the Bulls got dominated. And then, of course, you got the URC. And that is the most recent thing, and that's a competition we are talking about now. Stormers, as you would all probably remember, went on a 7-game winning streak. That first match at Loftus, where no one gave them a chance, they were so poor in the overseas tour. They came back, and the Bulls were supposed to win it, we can say arguably. And then there was the line break from Siabelo Senatla, pass went to Paul de Wet, and they went to score the winning try. And that started the 7-match run over the Bulls until last year, March, where the Bulls got their revenge in the 8th match between these sides in the URC by winning 40 points to 22. And through that 7-match streak, it was the 2022 final where the Stormers won 18 points to 13. And these are just the small things you can look at back at history. And you can tell yourself, like, this is why this is the biggest rivalry in SA Rugby. It just doesn't get bigger than this. The fans are hostile wherever you go, whether it's at Loftus, back in the day at Newlands, currently at DHL Stadium. But one thing you can't take away, and it's very much, I'll say it again like the Boks and the Springboks, there is just, despite all the hostility, and there might be a bit of hate, but there's a lot of respect between these two sides because of what they can do to each other, what they have done to each other, and what they still will do to each other. No one likes to lose as a Stormers fan against the Bulls, and vice versa. That is just the reality of it, and that's the beauty of it. You can lose to anyone. I remember seasons going to Newlands. We can have the worst season to date. If we beat the Bulls, it was fine. We had a good season. But time to look at this weekend's match. So obviously the Bulls are doing very well. They've got 2 matches in hand. Third on the lock, Stormers are 12th on the table, one match in hand, being this one against the Bulls as well. But not a lot of points separating them. I think it's about 8 or 9 points. So it could make for maybe a bit of disjointed reading. But fact of the matter is the Bulls are probably the favorites going into this match. However, apart from the times during COVID, which was a very weird time with illnesses and players not available and a lot of factors, Jake White took over. He did very well with the Bulls, won 2 Currie Cups in that time as well. The Bulls haven't beaten the Stormers in Cape Town with fans attending since 2011. And that was a 1916 result at Newland. Since then, it's been all Stormers. So for the first time in a very long time, Stormers fans could see the team lose in person at the stadium since 2011. We're talking about a very, very long time here, 13 years in the making. But history, I know it doesn't count for much, but if you look back at all these matches, they were close, they were feisty, they were brilliant, and you can't say anything more. It's just amazing. So now let's look at this matchup this weekend. You've got Manie Lebok may be available. We don't know yet. We might get answers on Wednesday. But at this point in time, we have no clue whether or not it will be available. There's been hints, but nothing's been confirmed. Billy Leroux changed the game against the Lions last week. And what a playmaker he is. People say he should play 10, and I definitely agree. Funny thing is, he's played at 10 a lot for the box. Not necessarily with a number on his back, but watching from first base, off scrums, especially off scrums, he controls the game so much. There's a lot of times where Pollard would go to center, Willie would go to 10, and they just change the play up. And Willie is that creative playmaker. That's what made him such, and still makes him such a great guard fullback, because he can see stuff people don't see. He can create stuff people wouldn't normally create. People always used to rave about Bowden Barrett back in his day and the Christian Cullens, but I think Billy Leroux also deserves his flowers in that respect. Then, of course, there is the sad, unfortunate case of no Rowan Nukia. He's out for 8 to 10 weeks. And, of course, no JD Schickeling was also injured, who had a great season. Now, this is very important because the set piece of the Stormers were actually magnificent when JD was playing most of the time. Himself, Ruben, and Salman, they used to work well together, but now there's one key cog missing, and that is JD Schickeling. Statistically, up until a couple of weeks ago, I haven't checked the stats yet, but the Stormers had the best lineout in the URC. So that could be a key thing, because Rowan Nukia in the lineouts for the Bulls, he was the big guy then. He was the one who used to make the steals and make all the reads and make sure the Bulls win their own ball. So that could be a very interesting matchup, whoever might be selected. We don't have the teams yet. There's always that one, I wouldn't say normally that one problem, but that one player that always comes back to haunt you. For Jake White, it's been Manie Lebok for quite an amount of games now. But we forget about Wandisile Simonani. He didn't have the best time in Pretoria, and he looks to be settling well in Cape Town. Could we see Jonathan Roche and Wandi to pair up as a centre pairing? Who knows? I think it's very much a possibility. I think Rowan now will definitely be in the mix, so maybe he'll come off the bench one day, that is. But point being is, he could be the one that knows a few tricks of the Bulls, and he could be sharing that knowledge playing against them. So maybe, just maybe, he could be the key in the centers for the Stormers against the Bulls. It's going to be an amazing game. It's probably the first time in a very long time where I feel the Stormers might be the underdog at home. I haven't felt like this in forever. I wouldn't say I normally expect us to win against the Bulls when they play in Cape Town, but like I said to you guys, history doesn't count for much. It's 80 minutes on the pitch. It's about the best team on the day who uses their chances the best. There's a lot of injuries in the Stormers camp, a few in the Bulls camp as well. Elrich Lowe, wish him a speedy recovery. He's got quite a big injury. They're still waiting for the swelling to go down on his knee before they can actually start operating. If you haven't heard the news yet. So a lot of things to look forward to. I'm just hoping for a fair game. I don't want to talk about the referee afterwards. I just want the best team to win, and hopefully that will be the Stormers. It's going to be an amazing atmosphere. If you are in Cape Town and you support the Stormers or the Bulls, or even if you just like rugby, if you like SA rugby, there is about 15,000 tickets left, guys. Get yourself one. Get yourself to the stadium. It's going to be a glorious and a magnificent occasion. And I think you would want to look back one day and say, I was there, regardless of what happens. And hopefully, I'll see you at the stadium. if you see me, you can come say hello by all means. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys next week. Cheers.
This is the What the Ruck Rugby podcast with Angus Opperman.